AA, Spiritual and Religious by Stephen K. It is quite often stated by AA members that the fellowship is spiritual, not religious. I do not think that statement is entirely accurate and would suggest that in a broad sense it can be validly described as both. It can certainly be related to in this way by individual members if they are inclined to do so. AA philosophy, its literature and program of recovery are strongly influenced by Christian principles and ideas that were inherited from the evangelical Oxford group. Bill W. and other founder members of AA first got sober through this Christian organization and practiced its tenets, and then later split from the Oxford group to form their own meetings that were specifically for alcoholics. Bill W., in consultation with the other early members of AA, developed Oxford group principles and beliefs into the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous. AA's program and traditions are also influenced by other disciplines and ideas. For example, the medical model of alcoholism, liberal democratic principles, and the pragmatic philosophy of William James, the so-called father of American psychology. It only requires a brief look at AA's basic text to establish the strong influence of Christian ideas, and the word God, or references to it, is mentioned literally hundreds of times throughout the Big Book. Although it is stated in the steps and elsewhere in the text that it can be a God of one's own understanding, there is a strong suggestion of its Christian characteristics. For example, He, all-powerful, all-knowing, and can intervene in one's life. Prayer is also suggested a lot. The Christian concept of salvation, or being saved by God, is fundamental to the 12 steps. It is true to say that AA is not connected to Christianity or any other religious organization in a formal way, and is independent from any such institution. However, this does not mean that the fellowship, in its own right, is not broadly religious in nature. Several American court decisions, see The Courts, AA and Religion at AA Agnostica, to read a detailed article about the stated court case decisions, have decided, having studied the literature and AA practices, that the fellowship is religious in nature. Having stated the above, AA's liberal and pragmatic principles allow its members to relate to the literature and 12 steps in a subjective and individual way, which can include rational and humanistic ideas and values. Spirituality can be understood in a rational sense in terms of phenomena such as love, morality, beauty, human consciousness, our sense of awe and wonder towards the mystery of existence, and the ineffable, things that are more than purely material. It can also include belief in the literal spirituality associated with religion, such as belief in supernatural beings, spirits, souls, and the afterlife. My relationship with AA's program of recovery is in terms of the former rational understanding of spirituality. Considering myself to be a humanist and agnostic, why am I a member of a broadly religious fellowship? The answer is several reasons. Firstly, it helped me to stop drinking and live a sober way of life, and continues to do so. Secondly, there are aspects of AA philosophy and values that I share with so-called more religious members, such as a commitment to sobriety, practicing moral inventory and virtue as part of my recovery, lifestyle, or way of being, and a desire to be of service to others, particularly the still suffering alcoholic. I very much value the opportunity to give and receive support and help that the Fellowship of AA provides to its members. AA's philosophy inspires this type of enlightened altruism, giving its fellowship a special quality and atmosphere which is characterized by an attitude of love and service. For me, God is a metaphor for good or love within humanity, and it's this healing force that works within the Fellowship of AA through its members. So, it is these practices and values, my relationship in a rational sense with spirituality, that I share with other members of AA, not necessarily their more religious or literal beliefs in terms of the 12 steps or AA philosophy. My point being, there is plenty in a religious fellowship for the non-believer, as well as those who adopt a more literal, supernatural understanding of spirituality. As suggested in the first paragraph of this essay, Alcoholics Anonymous, the fellowship and program can certainly be related to in a religious manner by its members. An example being the so-called Back to Basics movement within the fellowship, who interpret the Big Book in a very literal way and whose focus tends towards God and the Christian ideas in the literature. There is a variety in this type of approach towards the Big Book and 12 Steps by different groups and members, but all share a literal and fundamentalist style of interpretation with the aim of recreating very early AA or Oxford group principles. However, AA literature, the 12 Steps, and in particular the 12 Traditions, contain many liberal principles and suggestions in terms of relating to the Big Book and the program of recovery. 3 very important sentences for me in this respect are on page 47 of the 3rd edition of the Big Book. Quote, "When therefore we speak to you of God, we mean your own conception of God. This applies, too, to other spiritual expressions which you will find in this book. Do not let any prejudice you may have against spiritual terms deter you from honestly asking yourself what they mean to you." End quote. Members are allowed to relate to the 12 Steps and literature in a way that resonates with them. The result of this liberal freedom within AA philosophy is a diversity in terms of belief and practice by its members. There exists in AA a spectrum of belief and interpretations, from the strong atheist non-believer to the fundamentalist Christian and everything else in between. The fellowship and program of Alcoholics Anonymous can be legitimately described as broadly religious and also spiritual in nature, in my opinion. But its liberal principles and suggestions allow its individual members to relate to it in a non-religious, humanistic sense, if they so wish. Note: some readers may take issue with my rational/natural interpretation and use of the word spiritual. I think there are very valid arguments for not using the term in this respect, and that a more specific use of language would be a better communication of my humanistic understanding of recovery principles and experiences. However, there's the point of view that the scientific breaking down of everything to its component parts is too reductionist and doesn't fully convey the greater sum of those parts. Certain aspects of human experience are difficult to put into words and seem greater than their component parts, and vague words like spirituality are an attempt to communicate this greater quality. I do think that due to its various meanings and associations, the term spiritual can be misleading, and a better umbrella word for the principles and experiences of a natural understanding of recovery is warranted. I don't know what that word should be, and so, for the foreseeable future, may still be tempted at times to use the word spiritual in an attempt to communicate the ineffable quality of certain aspects of human experience that do seem more than purely material. About the author, Stephen K. Steve K. has been a member of AA for 24 years and lives in Cheshire, which is in the northwest region of England. He would describe himself as a humanist/agnostic. His home group is the Macclesfield Saturday Morning AA Group, and he regularly chairs the meeting. He has a background in advice and counseling work, mainly in the areas of mental health and social welfare law. Steve enjoys swimming and going to the gym regularly at the local leisure center and hill walking in the Cheshire countryside. He's recently started a recovery blog, 12-Step Philosophy, and has self-published an ebook entitled The 12-Step Philosophy of Alcoholics Anonymous, an interpretation by Steve K. The second edition is available at all the traditional online outlets and can be accessed as both an ebook and a paperback at Lulu. The original print version of this article, AA, Spiritual and Religious, by Stephen K., can be found on the website aabeyondbelief.com in the Personal Stories section, dated November 1st, 2015. This audio presentation was produced on December 24th, 2015.